Good morning. All right, so we are at a customer's house. This is his Mustang, small block Ford, obviously a big turbo. We're not touching any of that. Here's what we gotta do. We have to mount that ice box, the clear view, the fuel pump, trans cooler. The ice box is gonna go on the passenger side floor. We're gonna take care of that. I need to fix, the car is down right now, but I'll try and, there's some welds where someone used a bigger wheel tub in here, and then instead of trimming the wheel tub and putting a plate on the frame rail like normal, they just rolled the wheel tub under. So like if this is the wheel tub, they just folded it under and then tack welded it. We're gonna weld the whole seam, clean it up, grind it up, make it pretty. So it's not all janky looking under there. We're going to be moving the fuel cell down and doing a new floor pan in there, which we'll work on later. I want to start with getting the fuel cell mounted, or the ice box mounted. I'm going to utilize some of these factory mounting points so that if he decides to put a seat in here later, it's not like going against what's already here, and it's not bolted directly to the floor, because that's one thing he doesn't want. So I think what I'm gonna do is try and level it out, and then we'll make new brackets. And I'll use these holes here that are pre-existing as mounting locations, and we'll just level it out and sit it right there. So let's get started. I forgot something. We're gonna work on the dump truck bed later this week too. The whole seam on the bottom there is all rotted out. So I'm gonna grind a bunch of the rust off, put in sections of plate that I have to go pick up later this week, and we're gonna plate it, and then I'm going to put angle bar from the top there all the way down to reinforce the sides, because that's going to turn into a tree cutting truck, so it needs to be reinforced and be strong. I have all my material in the back of the Suburban, but we're gonna get started on this. There we go. I don't have my tripod with me, so because it broke. But first issue is the bolt pattern on this tank will not allow me to do what I initially planned, I don't believe. So I can add one. That's roughly where I'm trying to put this so that it's off the floor. I'm assuming there should be a drain on this. That's there. Of course it's there. I'll have to move it forward a hair so that the drain can come out and go through the floor. Put these little cardboard covers on the feet. Never understood that. But it's all good. Let's see if it's got pre-existing holes. If we can line up one bolt, we have a starting point. We'll just make the other hole. Alright, you guys are going on time lapse. Alright, so the front mount is done. Well, it's welded in. I need to drill a hole and then put a nut in there, but that's where the front's going to go. We have about, I don't know if you can read that. It's like a 3-degree downward angle in the front. I want a little bit of a lean to the forward. You know, I'm not sure that the car is necessarily super level either, but I'd rather have it lean a little forward then lean back, so that when he goes to drain it, it actually wants to drain out. The drain is up here in the front. It's got a little bit there, but then when you put a fitting and a 90 to get it to drain out, we'll be able to go through the floor and drain that out, no problem. This bracket is not interfering with where the seat mount is. So if he wants to put a factory seat back in this thing later on, he can, which is something I'm trying to keep in mind in case he turns this into a street car later on and puts a second seat in here. But for now, he wants this here, so I'm gonna level it out a little bit. Again, these feet aren't perfect and stuff, so you know, that foot in the corner that I have, this one here, is actually pointed up a little bit. Once I bolt it down, it'll probably suck it down a little bit, but now I just gotta work on the back mounts. All right, so welcome back. I skipped a bunch of time lapse, unfortunately, because I was just working, but this is pretty much mounted. I have to weld in a nut or do a nut cert in there. We're gonna use that stock bolt there. And then back here, I'm gonna go buy hardware while I'm on lunch. There's just some C-channel under these. That way it's fully removable in case he ever, sells the car or wants to put a seat in or anything like that. Plus, I'm not trying to weld to the super thin floor that's got some of that brown issue. So we're not trying to weld to a rusty floor and compromise the floor or anything like that. This is going to be secure. I'll get big washers for the underside, so everything's nice and secure. This isn't a structural piece. This is simply water, but I want to make sure that with the 5 gallons in here sloshing around, that's good. The other thing I just tidied up is we have our clear view mounted. I'm gonna wait and see if he wants me to weld this plate or the C-channel I have in here in to reinforce this. Once these bolts are actually tight, because right now they're just hand tight, I'm confident there's already not a lot of wiggle in that, and these are only hand tight. So once that's all the way in, that'll be good to go there. So at this current moment, mounting the fuel pump, which I'm gonna figure out a bracket for that shortly, and mounting the trans cooler, which has a bracket. I just gotta figure out where I'm gonna put it. That's probably gonna get nut started into the trunk floor, which is probably going to be the next step when we come back from lunch. I'll lower this down some more, clean my crap out from under it, and I'll pop the trunk. Let's see if we can climb under here real quick. There we go. So we're gonna cut more of this out and do a whole new sheet for this. So there'll be a lot of cutting. I'm gonna come all the way here. I'm gonna come all the way up to here, and then I'll clean up this stuff and come out to this lip edge over here on both sides. Should be, excuse me, there. And then in this lip, we're gonna nut cert it all the way around, so that if he switched to a front sump, because there'll obviously be a giant hole here for, I might actually use some of this material for some other stuff. But once this is all down, because the tank's gonna come down a little bit to about here. If he decides to go to a front sump and he just wants to change this plate out, he can do that, because I'm gonna put some brackets in here for holding the fuel cell. I gotta grab that strapping too. So that's gonna be probably just some 1-inch strapping that comes down, over, and up and welds in to this area and that bar, the bar for the coilers. So yeah, all right, so we're back after lunch and everything. That's the old floor plate, fuel pump, onboard air, all that stuff is out. This is the hole we're working with. We're gonna clean up and make it a bit more presentable. Like I said, we're gonna sink the fuel cell in a little bit, so I'm working on some of that. I have to put you guys on time lapse. The problem is I don't have my tripod with me, because the one I normally use is broken, so it's kind of a pain in the butt. I don't really have anywhere to put the phone, so I will try to do better tomorrow. But you guys should see it updating a little bit. Alright, so what you guys just saw was me cutting the floor pan out of this trunk. Trying to square up a bunch of the edges and stuff, because we're going to make a new cover after we seat the fuel cell in it. Because then I'll measure the pan and I'll cut the square out of the fuel cell and all that stuff. But anyways, yeah, we have a nice big hole. Plenty of room for activities in there now. We got rid of that big old hefty plate that they had in there before. I'm gonna actually measure this and see if the aluminum I have is gonna work, because we have some steel over here, but even the steel we have is a little thicker than I'd like. For that, at least, it's just a cover. So Oh, excuse me. That's not too bad. That might work. We'll see. I'm just not dead set on it right this second. So I'll see if my aluminum will fit. Because I'd rather do aluminum. It's gonna get bolted down anyways. It's not being welded in. We do have a bunch of welding to do now. That I've cleared up some space, like where the wheel tubs go to the frame. Excuse me, the frame rail. We're gonna grind that and do a bunch of welding there. But we do have this portion prepped. So this is all a bunch of the wiring that was in there that I just moved out of my way so that I didn't accidentally make contact with it while I was cutting everything out. But I'm not bad. Not bad. Get back to work. All right, that does it for day one. So quick recap. We have our clear view mounted that is actually secured. I tightened bolts down. Ice box is mounted. I have to add one fastener, which is the rib nut. And that's simply because I haven't decided if I want to rib nut it or if I want to put, like, weld just a nut in place. I'm not sure which one's going to be easier if they get stripped out over time. So that's where we're at there. Back here, the spot for it. So you can see all the shiny stuff over there. I started grinding up the frame rail area. I found a place where they welded a crack. Not very well, so I'm going to redo that while I'm in there. Just to be safe, make sure he's all situated. But, you know, a lot of this stuff, like, could have looked 10 times better if they'd just taken 10 minutes with a hammer to clean up some of the fitting and trimming lines and whatnot. So we're just going to do all that stuff. We're going to do all the stuff they didn't do. But the pocket's all cut out. There's a bunch of trimming done. I couldn't find the socket for the wheels today, so I couldn't get the wheels off, so I was limited on what I could clean up. I'm going to shoot him a message and ask him to leave that out for me for tomorrow or take the wheels off when we get home. Either way, I don't really care. However, it works better for him. Just that way I have access to everything tomorrow. So we can get I want to get all the underside welding done. All this stuff up in here so you can see, like, this stuff here where, like, it's not clean. Yeah, I gotta, like, fold that down, clean it, and then re-hammer it up. You can see, like, this has a better fit and stuff like that, and then you can see that crack line right there. So we're just gonna fix all that stuff. And it'll be a lot better when we're done. So I will see you guys in the morning. All right, so we're back. So figuring out floor pan while someone else pulled the wheels off. This is just obviously cardboard. I use cardboard because it's cheaper than metal, obviously. So I'm just trying to get a layout of, you know, I'm gonna notch this side and I'm gonna move it over. And then obviously I gotta make a little piece for the front here, but you can kind of see where everything's at, and then we'll go from there. So I'm gonna throw you guys on a time lapse in the corner somewhere and hope you get to see stuff. All right, we're back from lunch, so you can see like a couple little small welds in there. We're not gonna weld the whole thing. We're just trying to make it not look like this. That's how it was before. We're fixing that. We're getting it nice and snug. You can see, like, looks like there's a gap, but it's all sucked up. It's not all wavy. That's what we're trying to get rid of, is that weird, like, wavy. They had a bunch of, like, poorly done MIG welds and stuff through there. So that's all the stuff we're trying to fix. I'm gonna do this as well. I'm gonna redo this area here, but that's where we're at. I need to buy metal for up here, but I have that pretty well laid out. I made a couple of miscalculations. I'm human, but that's why we use paper or cardboard, poster board, whatever you want to call it, instead of using metal, because metal's expensive and it was like $4 for 3 pieces of paper. So I'm gonna leave you guys right about there because that's actually a decent angle. Put you on time lapse and get back to work. So this is what we're working on fixing. All of these boogers, and that big old chunk of boogers there that look like they all broke free. I'm gonna fix all that. I'm gonna make it look like that. And then, oh, a snug bug. Oh, look at that. And repair done, those are all cleaned up. We're good. Play in there anymore. I'm gonna kiss those down a little bit, but nice and tight. Alright, so I'm gross, but we have that side's all prettied up. That side's all prettied up, all the way down into there. I was able to put a pretty-ish weld right in that corner to keep that nice and tight, but it's got a little bit of play up there, but I think that's more so just the shape, but decent, not bad. We'll clean up. I sent update videos to the owner. I'll have him come out and check on it. Good morning. All right, we are back on day 3. Right now, you can't really see because I used a thin line marker so that I could have very exact lines. But I have the layout for the trunk pan done. I just want to make sure that my length from this end to that end is correct. I misplaced tape measure because I'm a button eater, but yeah. So yesterday we finished the wheel tubs. I showed you guys that. They're all nice and snugged up and no big old ugly welds and everything's tight. This has got a nice solid sound to it. So once I can verify, because I lost the tape measure like a button needle. This is the stuff we literally cut off the booger welds that were on this specific wheel tub. So anyways, once I can find the tape measure, I'll verify the dimensions. We'll cut the rough shape out. I'll lay it in, make sure it's right, clean up anywhere I gotta clean up, get it fitted, and then I'm gonna work on mounting the fuel cell next. All right, so the observant group of you, we've got rib nuts. I need to put one there, 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 and then that really pain in the butthole. Oh, sorry, that really pain in the butthole there. And all the rib nuts are in. Downside, someone removed my 832 tool for my rib nut, so I had to switch to M6. which means this beautiful bag of stainless hardware has to go back because it's useless. But no biggie. We can at least secure the trunk pan. Let's get some out of the fuel cell. Hey look, fuel cell sitting in on its own. Not bad. There's a couple things that bother me with it, but it's structurally fine and stuff nobody's really gonna ever see. The front straps I used as self-tapper to get them lined up to hold them in place while I welded them. This one shifted in, as you can see, like that gap's a little tighter than this one. It's super minor stuff, like I can see it when you look at the bars. This one comes like this one comes in a little bit. You can see like I mapped out for them to be even there. I did the same over here, but I missed this one. But yeah, so I mean, we have a fuel cell, we have the top. This is gonna sit, like realistically, it's just a hair too tall. So if I put you guys this way, you can literally see, let's see if I can do that. It's like an inch or two too tall. So it's gonna just protrude the trunk pan, which is over there, and you can see the layout there of where I need to cut for this. I'm gonna double check all my dimensions and make sure that math is still correct for this because of where it ended up. And then we'll cut that out, which is why it's not cut out yet, because I knew it might move a little bit. All our rib nuts are in, well, most of them. I don't know why there's 3 so close together, and then let's figure that out. That shouldn't be like that, but it could be. Anyways, that's gonna do it for day 3. We do have a floating fuel cell. All right, guys, today's a dirty day. we got some dirty job shit today, so I didn't do a ton of recording. This is what we worked on. So, cleaned all the spots. That's where the reinforcement's gonna go. That's where the lower plate, the patch panels are gonna go. We did it all the way around, this side, and on this side. All the way across. This bar, I gotta figure out if there's a way for me to move it, because like I can't get the grinder back here, and I couldn't get all the way up there. But other than that, let's see, we're ready for welding tomorrow. And then coming here, oh goodness, it's been a long day. So in here, I finished this. I ended up welding a stud, or not a bolt technically. I wanted to weld a bolt so the fronts are both studded and the rears are bolt through. These aren't tight, but the fronts are. So, I mean, just with the 2 secured, that's not going nowhere. Then we'll go around. I worked on the fuel cell and trunk pan. Would you look at it? It's not bad. I have some adjustments I want to make. I think what I'm going to end up doing is opening up the hole that's in there a little bit and then making a beauty panel. A, to add rigidity. B, to kind of put the fuel cell in a little bit better spot. It's a little snugged up right now because of the way it's sitting. But then it's causing the panel to shift a little bit. So if I can trim it bigger, get the fuel cell in, bolt the panel in, and then have a beauty panel that just bolts over the top and covers the hole, and add some rigidity to that panel. The panel will come up, the fuel cell will come out, everything comes out. But I mean, this fuel cell used to be literally to here. Like, I couldn't unbolt the stemming harness because it was too much. So I actually had to break the wires off because there was no way to get to them. And I physically couldn't get the cell out, so it was just what it was. Car's going to get rewired front to back, so I wasn't worried about that. Me and the owner talked about that already, so I knew it wasn't as big a problem. I generally try not to do stuff like that. Like, a lot of the stuff has been unbolted properly, unless there's something I literally, like that, where there's no way around it. I think they wired it up and then shoved the fuel cell in and put the floor in underneath it. And it just, I don't know. There's a bunch of weird stuff from the previous owner. I don't know if I've said it or I need to reiterate it. A lot of the issues that I'm having and stuff that I'm finding is not from the current owner. It's how he got the car. I'm just fixing a bunch of stuff. But, I mean, that's significantly better than what it looked like before, considering that's the big old 1/8" plate that it had in it before, with the hole for just the cell, and that's now tucked in. And then if we come down, oh my goodness, look at that. Ah, perfect. You can just see the tips of that at the bottom of the bumper. Fantastic. Yeah. So I'm gonna start cleaning up because I have a giant mess from grinding all day. But I'm gonna clean up and then I'm gonna go home and clean up myself because I'm gross. So I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, y'all. So it's lunchtime, which is really just mandated by the gentleman's dogs need to get out. So I'm gonna head to lunch. But we have all the material cut. These are all the pieces that need to be attached to the truck, except the one I already did. So we're gonna do that all the way across the bottom, all the way around. And then these beams will get stitch welded. They might get MIG welded. Unfortunately, I'm running out of argon. I don't know how much argon is in his tank. And I don't know where there's another place that I can go fill up. It's not like an hour and a half away, and I didn't realize that I was that low on argon. It's my own fault, but it is what it is. So, argon tank is strapped to the truck again because the dogs are gonna get out. So I just want to make sure, like, if they run by and try to, sniff on stuff, they're not gonna get hurt. But not bad. These plates are super bowed, so like it's tight, it's pretty tight. Start to curl out. I got it as tight as I could, and then I just stitched it with a little bit of the old-fashioned walk the cup. I am gonna stitch it in the ends. I stitched this side, well, I tacked that side basically, but we have 8, 1.5 inch welds. I'll reinforce this, and then when that bar, here, hold on. Let me set y'all up so you can see what we're going for. Like that. And now that ties the whole thing together, top to bottom. And that'll keep it from flexing. So, I'm gonna go grab some lunch. I'll be back. All done. No bad. No bad. Hi. Yeah, it's Monday. I didn't record anything today, really. I took a couple pictures, but I was way too busy trying to just get this banged out. I really wanted this done last week. That was the plan. A couple of delays and just time management that I wasn't accounting for properly kept me behind, so I was a day behind, so we had to finish up today. So, here's what you got. Transpool is mounted. It can be orientated either way. I have it orientated with the fittings coming to the front. Then I may go around and whatnot, however he wants to film that. So that's securely mounted there. Our big boy pump
Also securely mounted, up and out of the way. It is slightly lower. The inlet of this is slightly lower than the outlet of the tank. So it will be a downhill feed into the tank, or into the pump. And then from there, this way, I can go from here. Everything is in from the tire. So I'm like trying to understand that. So everything's in from the tire, which means everything can run inside the frame rails, nice and neat. That is the inlet side, that's why it's orientated this way. I made sure to double check. It says it on the front, which you can't see because I have fixed, but that's the inlet, so I made sure that was orientated correctly when I mounted it. If he wants to move something, it's his car, by all means. And then the other thing we did is, you can't really tell, but you see the rivets? There's a beauty panel up top. I'll put a picture in the description below, or I'll put a picture in now to show you what it actually looks like. To get a nice even gaps all the way around, much cleaner, much nicer. I'm super happy with that. So that wraps up the Mustang. So we're done with the small block Ford for now. Huge shout out to Mike Thomas. I appreciate you allowing me to come by and get some fab work done in your car for you. So that's gonna be it for this week. As always, comment, like, share, subscribe, get up, get after it.